The U.S. kicked off a 3-month countdown to renegotiating the North American Free Trade Agreement today, now that Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer is in position. All this as the White House drowns in controversy over Russian meddling in the U.S. election and Trump's abrupt dismissal of former FBI Chief James Comey. Will the political crisis impact the trade talks? Bloomberg's political reporter Josh Wingrove joins us to discuss. Josh, is this current controversy expected to have any implications for NAFTA renegotiations?
You know, today was one of the sort of flip sides where things happened with independent of all the controversies that Donald Trump always seems to find himself in. You remember a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump threatened or floated, or someone around him did, that they would just quit NAFTA altogether. And that was managed to change the channel at a time from the controversy that week. We always expected this was coming. At least that's Canada's position. Robert Lighthizer had to be in place, we think. It was a bit of legal uncertainty if he wasn't, to actually trigger this 90-day notice. He got sworn in on Monday. So I think the only question for the Canadians is, why didn't this happen Monday? What took until Thursday to do it? So I think going forward, this is really sort of core to Trump's message. It's independent of, you know, whatever daily tornado he finds himself in. But broadly, I think that the fear is that he will sort of turn to NAFTA talks to weigh in if he feels cornered on a particular political crisis. And so the Canadians, I think, are just taking it one day at a time, but are really the message saying today is, you know, this was expected. We're going to just proceed with this. We're excited to look forward for ways to modernize and sort of retool NAFTA.
Right, so with the clock now ticking, what happens over the next 90 days on both sides, on the Canadian and the U.S. side of this?
Yeah, well, the U.S. side is, I think, more significant. They actually do have to consult with Congress. I think if the Canadian strategy to date has paid any dividends, they're going to pay dividends over the next 90 days, which is that when the White House calls up a Congress member and says, you know, what do you think about NAFTA? If the Canadians have already got to that Congress member, they might get a message back like, you know, we think it's pretty good. My state sells more goods to Canada than any other country. You know, 35 states in the U.S. have Canada as their top export market. So I think this is where rubber hits road for Justin Trudeau's strategy so far. So we're going to see sort of how that pans out. For the Canadians, they're sort of ready to go. You know, they've appointed a chief negotiator. About a month ago, it came out that Steve Overhaul, who is a sort of prominent figure in the Canadian trade sort of negotiating team in Canada, will lead the talks. Chrystia Freeland, the foreign minister, is already in place, so they are ready to go. I think Canada will just sort of, you know, continue to monitor as things go on and be prepared for August 16th, when that 90-day window expires and things can really kick off.
And part of the renegotiation involves currency manipulation. What's the U.S. objective there? What do we know about that?
Yeah, this one is a tough one to game because the U.S. has sort of floated over the last several months that they would like some sort of trigger clause in trade deals whereby if the currency gets imbalanced, it triggers some sort of renegotiation or safety net of some kind. The U.S. has also said that they prefer bilateral deals, but of course NAFTA is a trilateral deal, and Canada said today it hopes that that continues trilaterally. So this one, as it respects NAFTA, is tough to sort out. But essentially what the U.S. is going after is they don't want countries manipulating their currency to devalue it and therefore exacerbate trade deficits with the U.S., which is sort of the whole ballgame for people like Lighthizer. And so I don't think that's going to be as big an issue for NAFTA as it might be for other countries.